Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Uh, Today I'll be using my actual voice, and I guess technically you could say this is a voice reveal of some sorts, if you will. But yeah, I wanted to, since it's almost Halloween, in a month or so, I wanted to talk about this one creepypasta that, in my opinion, just kind of disturbed me a little. It's called Misfortune.GB. Um, So yeah, I'll be reading this creepypasta and yeah. So Misfortune is an obscure game for the original Game Boy. Since no known hard copies or ROMs exist, all information about the game is derived from personal accounts and a assemblage of screenshots. The game does not contain any credits, and whoever created it is still unknown to this day. The few people who have experienced it consider it to be one of the scariest video games ever made. And here's a screenshot saying first to meet the demonic entity in the game, but we will talk about demonic entity and the boy later. Given its age and cult following among rare horror game enthusiasts, it's entirely possible that the authors of widely known creepypastas such as Sonic.exe and Lavender Town Syndrome drew inspiration from Misfortune. Um, this game does have some, like, I can see, from Lavender Town Syndrome, I can definitely see some resemblances to Misfortune. And, when you read the story and concept, which I'll be reading now, it's definitely you'll definitely see some similarities. So let's start. First we got the story and concept. So first, the player controls what appears to be a young boy in a strange gothic building. After a brief exploring, the player is confronted by a malevolent being. Despite the character never identifying itself, some people, citing notable similarities, claim it to be the representation of Baphomet, Beelzebub, or even the devil. Upon meeting the mysterious creature, a dialogue box will appear with the text, I exist within the very fabric of reality. Do you want to challenge me? This is followed by a yes or no choice. Should the player choose yes, the being replies, then let's begin. So this is the main picture of I exist within the very fabric of reality. Do you want to challenge me? And assuming you say yes, the game starts. So now we move on to the gameplay, and this is just a picture of the gameplay, saying choose a wrong and misfortune will befall your loved ones. Are you ready to play? So this is the cabin puzzle. So it says the player is then transported to a series of maze-like rooms, each filled with pit drops, locked doors, keys, and traps. The objective for the player is to progress through each room by either reaching the stairs to the next level or solving another kind of puzzle. This can include answering riddles or choosing correct doors or pathways. The most well-known example is in a level where four small cabins are shown on a screen. A dialog box will appear that reads, choose wrong and misfortune will befall your loved ones. Are you ready to play? Should the player ever make a mistake throughout the game, the screen will cut to black before showing a more detailed version image of the demon along with a dialog box reading, I am God here, in what appears to be blood-styled writing. And here we get the game over. This is the game over screen with the more detailed demon saying, I am God here. So now we move on to the alleged side effects. Now, this isn't the first one that has side effects like other games like Polybius or, different other games like that. I've also had stuff to do with alleged side effects while playing the game, but this one, yeah, well, you'll see what I mean. Rumors pertaining to the game's alleged harmful effects began to surface on the internet around the late 1990s. Players claimed to have begun experiencing ongoing depression and dread shortly after losing and seeing the game over screen. Once prominent members of online forums who told such claims are thought to have died or disappeared when they suddenly became inactive without warning. Heated discussions soon dominated these forums for some time, but the mystery never seemed to be getting any closer to being solved. Some wrote the whole thing off as a tasteless practical joke. Others believed that viewing the image of the evil character after losing the game can really cause the player to experience misfortune, as the game's protagonist promised. Soon people began to speculate that the eerie soundtrack of the game was the cause. And again, same thing as something like Lavender Town Syndrome, where the whole point of the creepypasta was that there was this high-pitched frequency that would make children, well, if you've read the story, you know the story, but, well, yeah. Moving on, we have the soundtrack. The music in the game consisted of deep, buzzy tones, off-key mel- and deep, buzzy tones off and off-key melodies. The game had a remarkably unsettling soundtrack despite the composition being limited to the 8-bit Game Boy sound bank. The game over screen had especially erratic, almost nauseating music with a very high frequency that accompanied it. Rumor has it that this very track could somehow influence moods and thought patterns. Of all the tracks in the game, only the theme that plays when first meeting the demonic entity can be found on the internet today. Moving on to availability, searching for playable ROMs and cartridges online is futile because none exist. In fact, most of those who have played it directly hadn't sought out looking for it, but rather stumbled upon it by accident. According to first-hand accounts, certain copies of the various Game Boy titles contain Misfortune in its entirety. The means of accessing it through these games vary, but typically involved exploiting glitches or using cheating devices. Although some had detailed what they had done to trigger Misfortune to start, attempts by others using the same methods had always failed. Another common observation was that many of the sprites in Misfortune had been copied from its host games. Misfortune is known to be integrated in the following: Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, Pokemon Red, Spud's Adventure, Pookie Karat, I'm sorry if I'm saying these names wrong, or Atelier Marie. I'm sorry, I can't read these names. So this is one of the deadly puzzle rooms. This is another puzzle room where the demonic entity chases the player. And here is the closing thoughts. For this section, I'm going to be speaking to you a lot less impartially and a lot more personally. It's important you read this part. Now, is this game really cursed? Does a specter really bide within and snare the innocent in its deadly game? Who knows? What I do know is that the game definitely exists. I also know what it can do. I never played it myself, you see, but I knew someone who did. A good friend of mine actually. We were closer than brothers, and we told each other everything. He was the most enthusiastic, outgoing guy I've ever met, and like me, he was really into video games. Sure enough, one day he told me that he found a spooky new game in Pokemon. He showed it to me, and even back then it gave me an odd feeling, though to be fair, I was always easily scared. Soon after, he started talking less and less. Later, he'd either ignore my calls or tell me he was sick or busy when I invited him out. He became something of a recluse. I did still sometimes get to see him at high school, but he rarely spoke and snapped at me when I pried too much over why he was acting that way. About a month later, before he got off the train after school, he said goodbye for the first time in weeks. I'll never forget the look he gave me that day. He was the macho nothing gets to me type of guy, and he always masked his emotion really well. But now he had a face filled with grief, like he was about to cry. He made me promise him one thing before he left: that I never play that game. That was the last time we spoke. The next morning, they found his scratched and bloodied corpse hanging from his disassembled weight machine. The police concluded that he managed to lift 220 pounds of weights over his head with the cord still attached, looped it around his neck, and released it over the other side of the machine, causing a strangulation as the weight on the other side kicked him upwards. The most horrible detail was that he was found with his hands clutching the inside of a makeshift. I'm not even going to say that word if YouTube's going to keep this video up, but as if we were trying to tug it loose. That was it. The case was closed. Personally, I don't believe that's what happened. If you're a collector or perhaps just heard the legend and want to experience the game for yourself, you should reconsider. If you even if you deny the existence of demons and curses, the misfortune that will befall you is very real. You have been warned. So that is the creepypasta of Misfortune.GB or Misfortune Game Boy. Do I believe this is real? Not really. I mean, it's a creepypasta, and many things are either edited or aren't real. But I'm not going to say that it's not real completely. But overall, this kind of got to me a little. Just the main line of like sincerity of the whole situation kind of scared me a little. But yeah, I'll link this in the description if you want to check out yourself. And if you want to see more of these, make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to see any more of my videos if they ever come out. But anyways, that'll be it for now. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you